I asked Cary Cheshire from Texans for Fiscal Responsibility to come and give just a legislative review. You know, we just finished the legislative session, and all of your state reps and your senators and the governor and the lieutenant governor, they're all going to tell you that this was the most conservative session ever. Well, Cary probably has a different opinion, and I share it. So, Cary, come on up.
Thanks, Julie. Can everyone hear me okay without the microphone? I need to use the microphone? Okay. I've been told I'm a loudmouth my whole life, but I guess my mouth's not that loud. Thanks, Julie. My name is Cary Cheshire. I'm a 6th-generation Texan, 3rd-generation Aggie. Very honored and privileged to work for Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. That's a name that you're probably familiar with. You've probably gotten our stuff in the mailbox at some time. Show of hands, who is aware of Texans for Fiscal? Yeah, okay, a lot of folks. And as you can imagine, the primary role of Texans for Fiscal Responsibility is advocating for fiscal responsibility, limited Republican government, and the proper role of government with our elected officials in Austin. And really, the way that I think of our job is handing out torches and pitchforks to folks like you to hold your lawmakers accountable. That's what I really think we are. I think we're kind of in the arms business, with the arms being information. As you can imagine, there are a number of lawmakers who are pretty big fans of our work because we recognize their accomplishments. There are a number of lawmakers who are not very big fans of our works because we recognize their accomplishments and the lack thereof. The primary product that we do to do that is called the Fiscal Responsibility Index. If you go to our website, texastaxpayers.com, you can click right on that Fiscal Responsibility Index, and that'll show your lawmaker and give you a grade on how they did during the session from a fiscally conservative, limited government perspective. Now, normally when I go out and across the state, I say, hi, I'm Cary Cheshire, blah, 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 blah. Glad to be out of the People's Republic of Austin and out here in real Texas. Of course, here today, we're kind of in the People's Republic of Austin, aren't we, right? And so we hear, the people who live here in Travis County, if you live in Williamson County, if you live in Burnett County, if you live in any of the surrounding counties, Blanco County, Hayes County, you know exactly what Democrats will do if they're given power. You know exactly what we're up against when Republicans are kowtowing to Democrat officials in the Texas legislature. Because we see the result of it, right? We see what happens when Mayor Adler or Greg Casar or Lloyd Doggett, we know what their way is. And so I think we, more than anybody, have a perspective that the rest of Texans don't have when you look at things that the Texas legislature does, like vote to appoint Democrats to chair committees. We're more than frustrated by that. Greg Casar doesn't come down to the Travis County Republican Party and say, hey, I need 5 good people with good ideas. I'm going to have them chair some committees down at City Hall. That doesn't happen. Up in Washington, D.C., you don't see Nancy Pelosi coming in and saying, you know what, Chip Roy, making you a committee chair. That doesn't happen. But here in Texas, we've got Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the Texas House, appointing Democrats to chair committees like financial services, Democrats to chair committees like the Agriculture Committee, Democrats to chair committees like Business and Industry, and those same Democrats literally getting on a plane today and flying to Washington, D.C. to avoid passing election integrity legislation. Right? And the most frustrating thing is, our elected officials let it happen. You didn't see this happen in Florida. You didn't see this happen in Georgia. You didn't see this happen in Tennessee. You didn't see this happen in Arizona, where they're auditing the election. You didn't see this happen in Michigan, Wisconsin. You didn't see this happen anywhere else. But here in Texas, I mean, if we think back 2013, we allow Wendy Davis to run a filibuster and block the pro-life law, force a special session that we had to come back and do it. Here, once again, Texas is a national embarrassment because we are literally letting Democrats flee the state and having an effective veto over what we're trying to do. Now, this could have been done during the regular session. We could have said, you know what? we're not going to let you vote on the budget until after we've passed election integrity, until after we've actually done the stuff that we need to do to secure the border, until actually we've done the stuff we need to do to secure the grid. But we didn't do that, did we? Instead, our elected officials passed a budget that all but 5 Democrats voted for. All but 5 Democrats voted for. We passed a budget that didn't fund property tax relief. Here's a question. How many of y'all got something in the mail that says, "Hi, I'm Greg Abbott. Property taxes are out of control. I think that they should only go up a little bit more next year"? Did any of y'all get that? Did any of y'all have a state representative candidate, a state senate candidate? Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, did he say, "Hey, you know what? I know property taxes are way too high. I'm only going to let them go up a little bit more next year"? No. They all promised property tax relief. But what did we get? We got a budget that prioritizes funding increases for the University of Texas at Austin so they can fund Africana studies and undocumented migrant studies. Right? We're funding Medicaid more. We're funding critical race theory. I mean, literally, the bill that they passed banning critical race theory banned Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America from being taught in schools. That's how weak that legislation was, how watered down it was by a whole bunch of Democrats and Republicans being afraid to be called racist. Well, guess what? Donald Trump got called racist every day. I think if you're a Republican and Democrats aren't calling you racist, there's probably something wrong with you. You can be a racist for showing up to work, for driving a pickup truck, for singing the national anthem. If you don't kneel for the national anthem, you're a racist. And so if you've got a Republican that's not meeting that definition, what the heck is going on? The fact of the matter is, here in Texas, we've been electing Republican majorities to statewide office for 2 decades. Republicans haven't elected a statewide office Democrat, or Texans haven't elected a Democrat statewide since like 1996. But what's happened to your property taxes? Have they gone up or down? Yeah. I mean, if there's somebody here who's got lower property taxes than they did back in 1996, please talk to me after the meeting. You must have some pixie dust or something else. I'd really like to see it. I mean, literally, here in Texas, we're having over 4,000 kids a year being chemically castrated and having genital mutilation, sex change surgeries performed on them up in Dallas. Here in Texas, during the regular session, they couldn't even pass a bill prohibiting trannies from being in high school wrestling with girls, from going into the showers with girls on the women's basketball team. That was too extreme for Dade Phelan. Not a priority for Greg Abbott. I mean, literally, you go and you look, and all the stuff that was his emergency priorities, it's not the stuff that was on his push card. It's not the stuff that he campaigned on. We have elected Republican after Republican after Republican who's promised to cut the size and scope of government. And we've seen a budget that's gone up and up and up, and tax bills that have gone up and up and up. And we see them time and time again come in and they just want to play whack-a-mole. Oh, Austin's defunded the police. Okay, well, we're going to say you can't defund the police anymore. Oh, the city of Denton has banned fracking. We're going to come in and say you can't ban fracking anymore. The city of San Antonio has implemented paid sick leave. We're going to say you can't mandate sick leave anymore. Well, I mean, think about what happened with your kids. Did you ever have a kid that wasn't following the rules and so you punished them? Did you just tell them they couldn't break the rules anymore? Or did you maybe take something away from them? Did you maybe make it hurt? I'll tell you, there was a phrase that my parents used in my house a lot. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe I was just a disciplined child. They said, "I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it." That was a very frequent saying in my household. And that's something that our elected officials need to hear from us, is that I brought you into office and I can take you out of it. And that's something that our local officials need to hear from our state legislators. Mayor Adler and Greg Casar, they need to be afraid of what the Republican legislature will do. They need to be afraid that, you know what, if I go and try and do this silly socialist stuff, Greg Abbott might come in and say, City of Austin, you don't get any sales tax revenue. They might need to be afraid that if they continue to pursue these dangerous policies with Austin Energy that make us all less safe, that can lead to these electrical shutdowns that we've had, that Austin Energy is not going to be controlled by the Austin City Council anymore. That's going to go away. We need Republican leadership that's willing to fight the Democrats at least as hard as the Democrats are willing to fight us. Because think about it. If Democrats had had a majority for 20 years, do you think they'd be putting Republicans as chairs of committee? No. Do you think that they'd be letting the city of Longview, the city of Lampasas, or the city of Lubbock, the city of Tyler, do you think that they'd be letting them do whatever they want? No. But it's our Republican elected officials that have been asleep at the wheel, that have been enabling all of these Democrats, that have been saying it's more important for us to fund higher education, fund a cultural decline, appoint regents that enable Democrats, allow Democrats to take control of our schools, allow Democrats to take control of our government, have bloated bureaucracies in city halls and county courthouses. It's more important to do all of those things than it is to return the power and money to the people who entrusted us with it. It's more important to do those things than to actually come and cut property taxes. You know what a cut in a property tax is? It's when your bill actually goes down, right? I mean, think about it. If Comcast called you and said, hey, Shelley, I know you're paying $100 a month. Great news. We're able to cut that. You're only going to be paying $105 a month next year. You wouldn't tell them, great job. You'd say, what the hell? It sounds like you're raising my bill by $5. And if they told you, yeah, Shelley, but you don't understand. See, it was going to be $120, but we decided that we're going to take $15 off of that. You'd probably be saying, you can probably take $105 off of that because I'm looking for somebody else, right? We wouldn't tolerate that in our businesses. I mean, literally, if we had somebody who wasn't showing up to work, who wasn't doing their job, or who had promised to do something and not doing it, we'd fire them. I mean, literally, Greg Abbott has been promising to secure the border since he was running in 2013. The budget that we just passed funds illegal alien subsidized tuition at our universities. If you had someone who was promising to build a fence in your backyard for 6 years, and you still didn't have a fence, and then he finally came up to you and was like, hey, actually, I created a GoFundMe for you to fund the fence. You'd probably tell him, that's okay, I paid you enough already, I'm finding another contractor, and actually maybe I'm going to send somebody after you to get all that money back. We need Republican elected officials with courage who are willing to go and fight and win. We need to be on the track of restoring personal liberty, private property, and getting back to the founding natures of our republic. We know what the left wants to do with the 1619 Project, with critical race theory, with social Marxism, with a policy of division, identity politics, and turning America into some corporate European state with a whole bunch of light rail trains. We need real deal Republican elected officials that do the really ridiculous thing of just committing their promises and following through on them. That's it. That's it. You just have to keep your word. You just have to aggressively advocate for it. You just have to do what you're elected to do. Because no one was elected on a, hey, you know what, I think it's really important that illegal alien kids from El Salvador get subsidized tuition at Texas Tech. That's not something that's on push cards. That's not something that I see on the mail that I get. I mean, I see the cowboy hat, I see the picket fence, I see the blue bonnets, I see the Texas-sized family, I see the dog with the bandana, I see someone who thinks that the Second Amendment's about shooting quail. Might see an old Model T pickup truck or something like that. I don't see we need to spend more money on Medicaid. That doesn't go on there. I don't see we need subsidized tuition for illegal aliens. I don't see it's a priority to allow the city of Austin to continue doing silly stuff. I mean, literally, why are we allowing... The city of Austin is a state agency. Just like my parents told me, I brought you into this world, we can take you out of it. We brought the city of Austin into this world, we can take them out of it. We could abolish the city of Austin. We could throw every single city councilman in jail. We could ban taxpayer-funded lobbying so that Austin taxpayers' tax dollars aren't being used to fund advocacy for abortion and the Brady campaign. I mean, literally, when I was a taxpayer in the city of Austin, thankfully I live up in Leander now, but literally my tax dollars, and if you live in the city of Austin and their legislative agenda, they're currently used to advocate for abortion and government funding of abortion. They're currently used to advocate for gun control and government funding of gun control. That's what your tax dollars are used to do. That doesn't represent your values. In fact, it's tyrannical. It's tyrannical to conscript your money and use it for speech that you disagree with. That's tyranny. But our elected officials didn't prioritize that. It's not a priority of Greg Abbott right now. He's got his special session agenda, and granted, Democrats have left the state, so who knows how much of it he's going to get accomplished. But he didn't put banning taxpayer-funded lobbying on there. He didn't put banning child gender surgeries on there. I mean, literally, in the state of Texas, you can't have a cigarette until you're 21. But the left thinks that you should be able to get an abortion at 13. And you should be able to have a life-changing permanent procedure on your body at 11, 12, 13. 9 years old. You couldn't find a doctor in the state of Texas where you say, hey, look, I identify as somebody with 9 fingers, and this one right here, it's got to go. There's not a doctor in the state of Texas that'll take care of that for you. It's against the law. They wouldn't let you do it. But you can find some left-wing sicko that'll come in and mutilate you beyond recognition to fund a brainwashing campaign that says, I know you think you're a little boy, but you're actually a little girl. Or you think you're a little girl, but you're actually a little boy. I mean, when I was 6 years old, I thought I was a T-Rex. And thankfully, I haven't seen any surgeries that might make you more able to do that. But, I mean, honestly, I think we just give the left 10 more years and they might be about it. But what we need is elected officials with courage and conviction and leadership, and that will only come when we have a citizenry that demands it. We have to have you and me stepping forward, doing exactly what Benjamin Franklin said when he met that woman on the way out of the Constitutional Convention. She asked, what kind of government have you given us? And he says, a republic if you can keep it. It's our job to keep the republic. We know that everyone we elect in office is going to go bad eventually. You've heard time and time again that term limits are important. You've heard time and time again that politicians are like diapers. They have to be changed regularly or they start to stink. But we have been asleep at the wheel for far too long. We've allowed far too many people to get elected based off what their dog looks like, the size of their cowboy hat, if they took the right picture in front of the bluebonnets, and if they talked about the stuff that we saw on Fox News last week, rather than are you actually cutting my property taxes? Are they actually going down? Are the public schools turning out more Republicans or Democrats? And if they're turning out more Democrats, are you making it to where they're turning out more Republicans? Are you defunding the leftist indoctrination camps at the University of Texas and Texas Tech? And I'll tell you, Texas A&M is bad too now. They literally have a student fee funny and taxpayer-funded drag show last semester. Draggy land. Old Army's not what it used to be. Anyway, it's up to us to fight for this republic, and I'm so glad you're here doing the first steps of getting involved. I've seen a lot of you before. You've been involved. That's great. You need to drag more friends by their hair and get them involved because it's up to us to do all of that. So I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the meeting. I'll be sticking around. Glad to see so many familiar faces, meet new friends. Glad to be here. So I'll hand it back to Julie. Thanks so much.